Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to KyVonne's Life. I'm KyVonne and today we're doing my very first tutorial on this channel. So thanks in advance for watching. I hope this is helpful. Here are the yarns that I'm going to be using. This will be a multicolored striped crochet tube top. I'm going for a fall vibe. So I think these colors feel pretty like fall, but also still bright. You can use whatever yarn you want to use. This is my preferred yarn. I really love the Lily Sugar and Cream. I know that is a little bit controversial in the crochet community, but I prefer the stiffness of this yarn, even though it does split really easily. If this isn't your preferred yarn, no worries, you can use whatever yarn you prefer. I do recommend you use a cotton yarn or like a DK weight yarn, a bamboo yarn. Since we are making a tube top, this is typically worn in the summer, so you're gonna want a lighter, more breathable yarn compared to a typical acrylic or a wool yarn. So any type of cotton or bamboo would be just fine. So grab your yarn of preference. You can do one solid color crochet top, or you can do stripes like I'm gonna do. For this crop top, I'm gonna use a size 5 crochet hook. I will say that if you want to guarantee that your top is less gappy, you can definitely go down a size in your crochet hook, but totally your choice. A size 5 works for me. Today I'm going to be showing you this super cute crochet tube top. It's beginner friendly and I would say plus size approved. If you're interested for how I modify this for my size 18, 20, 2X plus size body, stick around. I'm also going to show you how to make an I-cord to create a sturdier chain that we'll use to tie up the back of the top, which I find to be super helpful for all of the tops that I make instead of just a regular chain of stitches. Before we get started, I do want to go over some skills that you should already know how to do. You're going to need to know how to create a slip knot, how to chain, and how to double crochet before we begin. If you don't know how to do any of those, I recommend checking out the videos that I link in my description box that I found really helpful to learn these skills, and then come back to this video. In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to do color changes. I'm going to show you how to make a simple I-cord. This top is made to measure. So you're going to grab your tape measure and you're going to measure around the fullest part of your bust in inches or whatever you prefer. Now, the measurement I have for me is coming up at 55 inches, but here's where we're going to do a little bit of math. We are not going to chain the length of 55 inches. That would just be way too big, because by the end of the day, your shirt would be like overly humongous and we don't want that. So I actually like to take about 10 inches off. You can use that as a guide. You can take off 10 inches, you can take off a little bit less, totally up to you. But the key point here is that you do not want to chain a length of exactly what you measured. I'm gonna do the math now, take off 10 and see how that fits around me. Okay, so 55 minus 10 puts me at 45, which is pretty good. There's like this much gap space, but that is a-okay because we're gonna lace up the back. It's gonna end up closing itself fully. But like I said, depending on how much back you want to show on your top, you can take off less inches, more inches from your original bust measurement. Just for reference, my bust is 55 inches all the way around. I'm subtracting 10, so I'm going to chain up to about 45 inches, 44, 45 inches. All right, see y'all back at the tutorial. So first I'm gonna make my slip knot. I wanna watch a tutorial on this if you don't know how to make a slip knot. Now we're gonna make our foundation chain. $137, $138, $139, $140. So now I'm just going to measure against my tape measure. Looks good. So I actually am going to do 141 just to give me one more stitch, because I'm not going to go into that one. I'm going to go into the second one. So now we'll be working 140 stitches. Okay, so we've chained what is the width. This part's going to go across our body and tie up at the back. We're essentially making one long panel and we got the width. So here's where we get to decide how tall, or essentially what the length of the tube top will be. So if you want it to be more bandeau style, it can be super, what I would call skinny. Or if you want it to be a full length, like full coverage crop top, it'll be wider. And that is what I'm going for. This is for me, a plus size woman who wants to feel super comfortable, super cozy in my full coverage crop top. So my panel is going to be pretty long. That's why I've got my multiple colors. But this is the part where you can have a lot of fun, decide on the length that you want this to be, and you know, like how many stripes or how many colors you want to do if you're doing a multicolor tube top. So we're at the end of our chain here. Now we're gonna double crochet back down the width. So for this is where we begin our double crochet, and we're gonna double crochet into the second stitch from the hook, which is this one right here. The second stitch from the hook, which is this one right here. So you're gonna yarn over, and here's where you do need to know how to make a double crochet. So if you don't, pause the video and go check out one of those tutorials down in my description box. But you're gonna make a double crochet, and it should look like that. And now we're gonna just double crochet down the length of our foundation chain. So I'll do a few with you here. This is what we have so far. Like I said, if you want less gaps, use a smaller hook, but I'm okay with this. So I'm just gonna go all the way down the length of my chain, and I'll meet you at the end. I'm at my last 4 chains, so I'm going to double crochet with you guys on camera. So this is regular before we do our color change. Okay, so now I'm at my last stitch. I'm gonna start off like I'm gonna double crochet, and I'm gonna complete the first part. So I went through those first 2 loops for my double crochet, and here's where I'm going to pause so that I can add my new color. So I'm gonna grab my new color, which is green for me, but whatever color you choose. And if you're not color changing, you would just make a complete double crochet. To color change here, I have my new color here, and I'm just gonna fold it, and I'm going to lay it on my hook like that. So you can see the tail yarn, and then you can see my new colors working yarn. And I'm going to complete the loop just by pulling my new color through. The tail yarn is still there, both of the tail yarns, my new color green and then my old color. And I just like to tighten up the old color. So I just tighten up my old color. You can tighten up your green color if you want to. And now with your working yarn, you're gonna make 2 chains. 1, 2. And this is gonna count as your first double crochet in your new row. I've got my first double crochet. I'm gonna turn my work. And then I'm gonna grab those 2 tails that I had. I'm just gonna hold those as I start my new row of double crochet so that they can get weaved in. So I have my new color yarn here, and I'm just gonna go double crochet as usual. And like I said, this green, those 2 chain stitches counts as your first double crochet. So I'm gonna go into the second chain and make my second double crochet. And now I have also started to weave in the 2 tails. So I'm gonna keep doing that for like 4 to 5 stitches, just so that they get weaved in. I forgot to say, you can also cut the old color because you don't need it anymore. So I'm gonna snip that, and I'm gonna grab those 2 tails again. I'm just gonna keep weaving those in. So on my next double crochet, and as you can see, it's getting weaved in nicely. You can continue all the way through the end, or you can go like 45 stitches and then cut it off, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to continue double crocheting down the row, and I'll meet y'all back at the end. I am on my last 3 stitches, so let's do them together. 1, 2, okay, and the third one, the last one, this is where we're going to do our color change again. So I'm going to go in like a normal double crochet, but I'm not going to complete the double crochet. So this one is always a little tricky to get a hold of, and I'll be completely honest, I think I'm a type B crocheter, so however you get in there, that's fine. Okay, so I've got my 3 on the hook, 3 loops on the hook. Now I'm going to yarn over it, pull through 2, and then I'm going to stop and get my new color. Okay, so I've got my cream color. This is going to be my tail. So I'm just going to hold it like that, pick up my hook again, and lay it on there. And this is my working yarn. I'm going to kind of hold it all like together. And I'm going to pull through my new color. And with my working yarn of my new color, I'm going to make my 2 chains. So 1, 2, and that is going to count as our first double crochet once we turn our work. So again, I like to tighten up the old color, and then I'm going to snip the old color. And now I've got my white and those 2 tails. So now I'm ready to turn my work. I'm going to hold my 2 tails, and I'm going to double crochet as usual. So I'm going to go into this next stitch, this second one right here, because this one is already the first double crochet. So double crochet, and then you see how this is a little loose. I'm just going to pull those 2 tails, and it brings it all, makes it nice and tight. So I'm going to go into my third one, double crochet into the 4th one, double crochet into the 5th one. And this is where you can carry those 2 tails for as long as you want. I usually do 5 or 6. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to drop them and just kind of push them out the way. And I'm just going to keep going with my double crochets. I'm going to crochet all the way down my panel, and I'll meet y'all at the end once I'm finished with my row of double crochets in the white yarn. Okay, I'm at my last 3 double crochets, so let's finish these up. Okay, and here's where we're going to do the color change. So you can just go into this one if you don't want to fight with it. You're going to leave 2 on your hook. This is where you would add your next color. This is where you can decide if you want your tube top to be more like a bandeau and have it be a little bit skinnier, or have it be like a full length tube top, which is what I'm going for. So we just keep working our long rows, our one big long row. It'll just be like one big long rectangle. If you're color changing, you do your color changes. If it's one solid color, all good, you just keep going. So I will see y'all back when I have a completed panel. I'm finished with my panel. I need to cut these off. They're weaved in nicely, so I just need to go in and actually just snip. My panel is completely done. I have about 27 rows here. So now what I'm gonna do is go in and put a single crochet border around this whole panel. I'm gonna go around and make one long border all the way. If you want to see how I do this, keep watching, but it's pretty straightforward. The only call out here is that you will put 3 single crochets in every corner so that you can actually like get around to the other side. So let's get started, and that'll make sense once I get there. So I make a slip knot. I'm gonna start with this first single crochet here. You're gonna single crochet into each of the stitches, and I'll meet you once we get to one of the shorter sides. I'm also carrying my little short tail. Okay, so I just finished a row of single crochets and now I'm at a corner here. I'm about to go to the short edge of my top. So this is where I was talking about you're gonna wanna make 3 single crochets in a corner so that you can get to the other side. So I'm going to just hold this color in my hand here and I'm gonna get in where I fit in pretty much. So I'm just going through essentially like in this stitch and I'm going to single crochet 1, single crochet 2, single crochet 3, and that will make a corner for us. And so now I'm going to find another stitch. So this is where I was talking about you're gonna need to just kind of go in where you can fit. I will say, just for like consistency purpose on the other side, whatever amount of stitches you do down this row, you want to try to keep that on your other short edge too. So again, you can weave in this red here. So I'm going to do a single crochet, single crochet in the brown, single crochet in the pink, single crochet in the white, single crochet in the green, single crochet in the blue, and you can see you're making your border here. You do that all the way down your short edge. When you get to the corner here, you make 3 single crochets in the corner. You'll go down your long edge and then you'll finish up with the last short edge. So I will meet y'all back once I'm completely done single crocheting the edge all the way down the other 3 sides. So 1, 2, and then the other short edge makes the 3rd side. I'm pretty much finished. I put 3 single crochets in this corner, so now I'm ready to connect to my very first stitch, and I'm just going to slip stitch in, grab some scissors, cut my yarn, pull it nice and tight, and then I'm just going to weave this back into my top. I'm going to weave this into my top, so you want your tapestry needle now. And the first thing that I'm going to do is go into this stitch in the corner here, go through it, and then go back in to this one, to the one that I came out of, and I'm just going to make a knot. Just for extra security. And now I'm gonna weave this in. So I like this little corner piece here, so I'm gonna weave in my blue through there, and then I'm gonna go back down through the blue on the other side. So on this side, then I'm gonna go back down, then I'm gonna go back down through the red. Just for extra security, I'm gonna go back through the blue because I can. And then I'm gonna cut it off. I'm just gonna snip that. And we have a completely weaved in end. And now we have a nice border along all sides of the top. I actually want this blue, I think, to be the top of my shirt. Now that we're finished with the tube top itself, we're ready to make the cord that we're going to use to tie everything up. This is one of my favorite modifications I make to crochet clothing as a plus size person, is by knitting an I-cord instead of just using a traditional chain or a chain of single crochets and then going back down as double crochets. It just isn't as sturdy because when you pull it, it just stretches a lot more and doesn't feel that secure to me as a plus size person. And so I took the time to learn how to knit an I-cord. You're gonna need 2 double pointed needles. For I-cords, you can typically do like 3, 4, or 5 stitches on your knitting needles for these, but for my I-cords, I use 3 stitches on a hook, so that's what we're going to do here. In addition to your double pointed needles, you're gonna want a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle also. So first things first, you're gonna need to cast on. So to cast on, I recommend going to watch some other shorter videos if you really need to learn how to cast on. I'm not going to go that in depth, but I can show you how I learned how to do it. I'm doing, I think, what we call a long tail cast on. So I'm going to keep this long tail. I just kind of hold up my yarn like that, and I can hold my yarn. I was taught I pinch my fingers, go in through the yarn, open it up. And then here's where it gets a little funky for me to explain. So I appreciate your patience. So I hold it like that, if you can kind of see what's going on here. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to bring it under this one, through, and then I bring it under that one, and then I bring it through that hole. If you didn't catch that, slow this video down. But now I have 2 stitches on my hook already, so I just need to do one more because I'm doing 3. So again, I go in, under this one, under the one on my finger, and then through. And then I'm pulling the working yarn to make that nice and tight. So now I have 3 stitches on my hook. Okay, so now that we have our 3 casted on, instead of switching our needles like you would do traditionally in knitting, with a double pointed needle, you're going to slide your work from one end to the next. So I just slid my work down here. Now I'm gonna grab my needle and I'm going to continue knitting. So this is my working yarn. I'm going to knit my 3 stitches. So I went in the front and I'm going to grab my working yarn. Make sure it's your working yarn and not your tail. Grab your working yarn and I go in front of the needle, then pull it through. So now I've got 1 on this needle. I'm gonna go in again, take my working yarn, knit that one. I've got 2. Go in, take my working yarn, knit it. Now I've got 3. So now I've got my 3 stitches on my hook again. I'm going to slide these 3 down to the end. And then I'm ready to do the same thing. Knit these 3 stitches. So make sure you're not using your tail. It's really easy to grab that one. So grab your working yarn. Knit 1, knit 2, knit 3. Now I've got 3 on my needle. I'm going to slide those down to the other end. And I'm going to knit, and I also like to kind of pull the I-cord to where everything needs to be so that it can start to form the tube. So now I'm ready to knit again. Again, I just kind of pulled it so everything sits nicely, and now I slide it down. Knit again. Knit. I am gonna pull again, make sure it's starting to look how I want it to look. So it's at this one end and I need to get it down to this end, so I'm gonna slide it just like we've been doing. And now we're starting to form this tube like it's supposed to be. So this is a pretty good looking I-cord so far. So let's do a few more. pull it again so that it's starting to form the tube like it's supposed to. And so now I'm just going to slide this down to the end and I will be ready to keep going. And so this is where you will need to knit this cord for as long as you want it to be. I like to have my cords pretty long because I'm just going to do the one long I cord and I'm going to lace it up in the back. Just as another reference, I also took this I cord and wrapped it around my body, and I think you could use that as another way to figure out how long you want your I cord to be, or like what's a good safe length for your I cord to be. I will say that once this is all tied up, I definitely have enough string left over, and when I say enough string, I mean enough for me to feel comfortable, like that I wasn't gonna run out to begin with. So this I cord is 56 inches. You can measure around your body and make your I cord that length. Okay, I need to show you how to bind off an I cord, so let's do that. I just finished a round on my I cord. I have 3 loops on my hook. To cast off, I'm going to knit 2 regularly. So there is 1, and then I'm going to knit the second one, just like normal. There's 2. Okay, so now I have 2 loops on my hook here. I'm going to take that first one, pull it over the second one that we made. It's a little tricky, but you can do it. So you'll just bring it over, and now you've got 1 left on your hook. So with the very last loop, it's on the one that's in my left hand, I'm going to knit regularly. Now I've got 2 on my hook again. Same thing. I'm going to take that last one and pull it over the most recent loop. And now I'm ready to cut my yarn. So from this point, I can just cut and pull it through. I have officially binded off. And that's how you close your I cord. I finished my I cord, so now I have these 2 ends. I'm gonna weave in these 2 ends. I like to make a knot so that it's just nice and tight. And then I just weave in for a few of the stitches. I only did like 4. And cut it off. It's all good. Same for this side. Okay. And then cut it. Now I'm gonna grab my I cord and we're gonna weave it through the top. Okay, so now pretty much just weave in the I cord. So there are some natural spaces in your top where we made those first chains. So that is where I lace up mine. So you'll just want to find those natural chain spaces and lace it up. Laced up top. So that brings us to the end of this video. You should now have a completed crochet tube top. If you like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up or leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.